The purpose of this knife was really close combat. These American GIs in World War II are getting shipped overseas by the hundreds of thousands.
It took a little while because I had the best of the best work on it for you in Japan.
It does look pretty amazing.
What happens when an ordinary-looking knife enters a pawn shop and leaves even Rick Harrison stunned? Could one small blade really be worth more than a luxury car or nearly $1 million? This journey explores rare discoveries, risky purchases, and the hidden details that can transform steel into treasure. From World War II fighting knives to centuries-old samurai swords, every weapon carries a story of craftsmanship, conflict, and survival. Now, get ready to uncover the truth behind some of the rarest and most valuable blades ever brought into the Pawn Stars shop. The $1 million katana claim. When a man casually walked into the Pawn Stars shop carrying what appeared to be an ordinary Japanese katana, Rick Harrison had no idea he was about to face $1 million claim. The seller insisted the ancient blade was signed by Kita Ishida.
I've got this ancient Japanese katana, signed by Koide Ishida himself, and I'm interested in selling it.
A swordsmith tied to a famous military commander from a historic battle. This connection, he argued, made the katana potentially worth far more than a typical collectible. The owner valued it as museum quality, boldly asking for $1 million. Rick's interest was piqued, but tempered with caution. He knew authentic Japanese swords could command high prices, especially those from rare periods like the Kamakura period, dating back to around 1300 AD. But he also understood the market was flooded with convincing replicas that looked old but lacked genuine provenance. To verify, Rick called in a Japanese sword expert to carefully inspect the tang, the critical part of the blade under the handle bearing the maker's signature and age clues. The expert's examination quickly revealed troubling signs. The inscription on the blade did not match the claimed swordsmith, and the signature was improperly placed for a sword of the Kamakura period. Moreover, no historical records corroborated the existence of the named swordsmith. The sword was identified as a modern reproduction, likely crafted in China within the last 2 decades to resemble an ancient katana.
Swords from the Kamakura period were worn opposite, so the signature would actually be on this side of the tang.
This blade, pitched as priceless, turned out to be a replica, usually priced somewhere in the range of $50 to $200. Rick wouldn't take the sale, saying the shop was not into replicas unless they also had historical merit. That bit of news made everyone realize how important expert eyes are when you're trying to tell real artifacts apart from convincing but basically worthless fakes. Still, the whole thing left people wondering what kind of authentic treasures might end up walking through or next. Authenticity matters a lot when a price tag gets so high, especially in a market where decades-old replicas are almost everywhere. But that headline-level promise of an extraordinary find, it keeps experts and serious buyers on guard, like they have to. The careful scrutiny given to this katana sort of set up everything after it. Different discoveries followed, knives and swords with stories and values that would soon make the shop staff go quiet. Even though this sword's $1 million claim got brushed aside, it still opened the door to other blades. Some had lower price tags, yet carried far more historical significance. The boundary between fact and fiction in weapon collecting is often fuzzy, and that's why specialists matter so much. Each item has its own tale, and the truth behind the katana was just the beginning of a longer, rather fascinating journey. The intrigue around rare blades usually starts with provenance and craftsmanship, things this katana didn't have, despite the dramatic backstory it tried to sell. In the end, the episode functioned like a reminder to slow down excitement with expertise. And honestly, that theme kept showing up whenever more rare weapons came into the shop. As this modern fake was sent back to its owner, the door opened for genuine, remarkable blades whose rightful value would soon be revealed, starting with a Second World War knife of unusual design. The rare World War II knife. Shortly after, a customer named Danny arrived with a World War II-era fighting knife that immediately caught the attention of Corey Harrison. Danny claimed it belonged to his great-grandfather who served during the conflict,
It was my great-grandfather's. My dad said my great-grandpa, he massacred about 3,000 people with that knife.
And the knife featured a distinctive brass knuckle guard, a design meant for close combat. What made it stand out even more was its excellent condition after nearly 2 decades of care, still accompanied by its original sheath. Danny's family story added to the knife's mystique. He said his great-grandfather had allegedly slain thousands in battle with this blade.
So your great-grandfather was from Alabama and served in World War II?
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
A figure that even he admitted was likely exaggerated. Initially, Danny asked for just $500, hoping to ease some financial burdens. But Corey was skeptical and knew that a knife from this era, especially one with such a unique design, warranted expert inspection before setting any value. Military weapons expert Alex was called in for appraisal and immediately identified the knife as an MH Cole fighting knife.
People don't think of World War II as being a close combat event, but in many times, and for many GIs, it actually was.
This style was custom-made during World War II by M.H. Cole or Marion H. Cole, a police officer in Alabama who made knives for soldiers since he could not fight overseas himself. The knife's provenance aligned when Alex learned Danny's great-grandfather served from Alabama, suggesting this could have been a personal purchase straight from Cole. One of the critical details Alex checked was this brass knuckle guard's pointed design. IT was kind of a specific thing to notice. Counting 9 points felt especially important, mostly because Cole only made around 300 knives overall. And within that whole amount, the rarest batch, like 50 to 75 knives, had 9 points. Not more, not less. Later versions with 8 points were much easier to find. So it sort of confirmed the thing was real, but also that it was genuinely scarce and a bit too desirable for collectors to ignore. Alex figured the knife could be worth something like $10,000, maybe more if it landed at the right auction. Basically, around 10 times Danny's original asking price. That part hit Danny hard. He hadn't really grasped what his family heirloom meant in practice. After some back and forth, Corey came in with a $5,000 offer. Danny first pushed back with $7,000, then he ended up accepting the smaller number. And yeah, he recognized it as a fair deal in the end. Looking back, the whole transaction showed how surprising value can show up for personal artifacts, especially when they're tied tightly to wartime history and the actual craftsmanship. It also made clear why expert knowledge matters. Without it, hidden worth might just sit there, quietly overlooked. $500 had turned into a life-changing sum, fast, like in the blink of an expert's eye. The story of the M.H. Cole fighting knife is a vivid reminder that war-era weapons often carry stories far beyond the metal itself, tucked inside personal sacrifice and historical importance. It also shows that there's this real thrill in discovery when someone brings heirlooms into trusted hands and finally gets the truth out of them. As Danny's knife found a new owner, the shop's collection continued to attract blades with equally fascinating histories and designs, some more unusual than others, yet each with their own story to tell. Unusual and historic blades. The Pawn Stars shop has seen its fair share of unusual weapons, but few are as strange and historically intriguing as the Filipino bolo knife and the double-barreled pistol dagger that followed. The bolo knife, also known as a barang, was brought in by a customer named Spencer. He believed it was taken from the Battle of Balangiga during the Philippine-American War in 1899 by the 9th U.S. Infantry Regiment.
Today I brought in a Filipino insurrection bolo knife. I got this from a connection of mine who got it from an estate sale in Virginia.
Spencer hoped to sell the bolo for around $1,000, and Chumley swooped in without Rick's approval to purchase it for $600. Corey viewed the knife's value skeptically, suggesting it was worth significantly less, sparking an unusual bet with Chumley. Chum wagered the bolo was worth $600 or more, while Corey had to walk his dog in a tutu if proven wrong. Eventually, military weapons expert Alex confirmed the bolo's authenticity.
What'd you pay for it?
$600?
Chum, this is worth like maybe 200 bucks.
200 plus about 800.
And its connection to the 9th U.S. Infantry Regiment. Adding that original labels dramatically increased its value. Alex estimated the knife could fetch about $1,000 at auction, validating Chumley's confident purchase and winning the bet. Corey reluctantly carried out his punishing walk, with much laughter all around. Another curious weapon was a double-barreled pistol dagger, brought in by a female customer wanting to downsize. The weapon had two triggers that emerged when the hammers were pulled back, a design popular in the 19th century for self-defense. Rick initially joked about pirates using it, but the expert appraisal showed it was a patented French design from the 1840s, likely produced in Belgium. Alex, the antique firearms specialist, confirmed the dagger's uniqueness and decent condition, but noted he couldn't guarantee the pistol fired without a closer inspection. Worth about $3,000, the weapon combined flair and practical design in a way rarely seen today. Rick negotiated a purchase price of $2,000 and then tested the weapon's blade and firing ability on layered cakes, joking that each cake represented one of his ex-wives. The pistol fired successfully, hitting the target with surprising accuracy. These unusual blades demonstrate how innovation and history often intersect in unexpected ways, where weapons serve not just as instruments of war or self-defense, but also as collectors' curiosities. They enrich the Pawn Stars collection, illustrating the variety of stories embedded in steel, wood, and craftsmanship. From exotic fighting knives to hybrid firearms, the shop's offerings reveal a world where the past meets the present in fascinating forms. Yet these extraordinary finds only deepen the mystery of what treasures might walk in next, waiting for their stories to be told. The high-end knife collection. Not every blade that walked through the Pawn Stars door was a single rare treasure. Some arrived as large collections representing a lifetime of careful assembly and appreciation. One collector brought in 14 knives he had gathered over 40 years, each chosen for its craftsmanship rather than the maker's fame. This collection included sought-after brands like Randall Knives, Lyle Knives, and even a notable Rambo survival knife, reflecting the blend of artistry and pop culture appeal. Rick immediately noted the handcrafted nature of Randall Knives, forged from steel with a solid reputation among sailors and collectors alike. The maker had started in the 1940s in Florida, building a brand that became synonymous with high-quality, utilitarian knives made to endure harsh conditions. Among the collection, the Lyle knives stood out, especially one made for the original Rambo movie. That particular knife included clever survival compartments for tiny essentials like hooks and matches, details that elevated it well beyond a simple movie prop. The collector emphasized that he valued each knife for its artistic merits and condition, rather than solely focusing on name recognition. Most knives were in excellent shape, having been used only briefly, and were largely preserved behind glass or kept safely in a secure case. He was hoping to sell the 4 Randall knives he prized most for about $1,200. Rick found this offer reasonable, recognizing the craftsmanship and condition justified that price. As Rick handled that Rambo survival knife, in particular, he sort of went on about its appeal, saying it made him feel like a modern action hero. You know, that mix of useful design and cultural weight caught a lot of what people chase when they get interested in collectible knives. The deal got finalized when Rick bought the 4 knives, including that Rambo piece, for the agreed $1,200, which also added a noticeable amount of variety to the shop's collection. This kind of transaction shows how knife collecting is more than the money part. It's usually about history, the shape of things, and that personal tie. Collectors want pieces that carry a story, or that highlight craftsmanship across different eras, sort of linking military heritage with popular culture. And the stories that came with each knife honestly make the objects feel bigger than their steel and their grips. Even so, some buyers stay careful and lean on heavy expert checking, while others gamble a bit on intuition or pure passion, as was clear in the next series of samurai swords. Those swords brought into sharp view the push and pull between gut feeling and professional verification in the rare weapon world. The worth of a collection like this sits not only in the separate items, but in the way they, together, reflect changing tastes and traditions in knife making. For a lot of enthusiasts, having that kind of spread is its own win, a marker of decades of focus on this strange, unique craft. Yet beneath this collector's pride, the world of rare blades remained a complex landscape where authenticity and provenance can make all the difference. The shop's encounters with samurai swords would soon bring this reality into even clearer focus. Authentic samurai, swords revealed. Few items excite the Pawn Stars team more than authentic samurai swords, where history, craftsmanship, and value come together. Chumley took a major gamble by purchasing 3 Japanese swords for nearly $4,000 without first consulting an expert. While risky, the deal had the potential to pay off if the blades proved genuine. To find out, Corey Harrison brought in Japanese sword expert Mike. He began by inspecting the tang of each sword.
After World War II, it's estimated about 3 million Japanese swords came out of Japan that were confiscated by the occupation forces.
The hidden portion beneath the handle where makers often left signatures. The first blade carried the mark of a recognized swordsmith and showed only minor wear, making it an authentic and valuable piece. Though shorter than a typical katana, Mike explained it still qualified as a traditional Japanese sword. The second sword also featured a genuine signature and was dated to the late 15th to 16th century, placing it in one of the greatest eras of Japanese sword making. The third blade appeared even more impressive, bearing the famous name Soshu Akihiro. However, Mike revealed that the signature was actually a historical forgery, a practice once used to increase a sword's appeal. Even so, the blade itself dated to the early 15th century, giving it significant historical value despite the false inscription. After examining all 3, Mike valued the collection at around $13,000, turning Chumley's risky purchase into a highly profitable investment. Corey admitted the gamble had worked this time, but reminded everyone that buying valuable antiques without expert advice can easily backfire. Later, another customer, Davey, brought in what he believed was the oldest samurai sword ever seen in the shop. Acquired in a vehicle trade, the blade came with Japanese documents the owner couldn't read and was believed to date back to the 16th century. Rick noticed Davey struggled to even remove the sword from its scabbard, highlighting how little he knew about the weapon. Weapons expert Rocco carefully inspected the sword and confirmed it was authentic. He identified the maker as Yoshitsugu, a respected swordsmith from the late 16th century. Rocco explained that Japanese smiths perfected folding techniques because of scarce metal resources, creating blades renowned for their strength and durability. He estimated the sword's value at $15,000 to $20,000. These remarkable discoveries show why authentic samurai swords remain among the most prized collectibles. Each blade tells a story of craftsmanship, history, and tradition, proving that expert knowledge and solid provenance can transform an old weapon into a priceless piece of the past. As the Pawn Stars shop's saga unfolds, even greater legacies emerge in the hands of those who understand their true worth. Legendary swords and priceless history. Some of the most unforgettable items on Pawn Stars are swords tied to famous figures and major moments in history. One standout was an ornate saber brought in by Alex, who inherited it from his grandfather. The Empire-style weapon featured a Damascus steel blade from Isfahan, complete with its signature watered pattern, Russian inscriptions on the sheath, Arabic script on the blade, and the maker's signature dated to 1215 in the Islamic calendar pointed to its extraordinary origins. Alex hoped to sell it for around $40,000. A weapons expert said, kinda casually but still, that the saber had belonged to Prince Ivan Ivanovich Odoki, a Russian hussar officer who was slain during the Battle of Brienne in 1814 while he was up against Napoleon's forces. After it moved through the Imperial Guard and a few private collections, It eventually turned into one of the most notable Imperial Russian swords to show up since World War II. The expert placed a value around $75,000 to $100,000, and he explained that blades made in Persia were favored by European officers because their steel was considered better, sharper in a way. Even so, when Rick bumped his offer up to $50,000, Alex simply walked away. He seemed to think a specialized auction would pay more, or at least it felt like that. Then things took another interesting turn because Rick went to the Washington, D.C. area to look over artifacts tied to George Washington. At Mount Vernon, they let him hold Washington's silver lionhead hunting sword. It's said to be one of only 2 swords the first president used during the Revolutionary War. Rick later described the moment as unforgettable, even though the piece was never actually for sale. The stop also included a real, authentic 3-piece suit worn by Washington, with full provenance. The coat, waistcoat, and trousers together were listed at $3 million. Rick came in with $1.5 million. Talks apparently climbed to $2 million, but he still passed in the end. In his view, it was simply outside what he could reasonably spend. From a rejected $1 million fake katana to treasures once connected to princes and presidents, these remarkable blades prove that history can be more valuable than the steel itself. Every sword carries a story shaped by craftsmanship, conflict, and the people who once held it. If you enjoyed uncovering these priceless weapons, like the video and subscribe for more incredible discoveries. Then, keep the journey going by clicking the next video appearing on your screen. You never know what forgotten treasure is waiting to be revealed.